God is not always fair. It wasn't at all fair that Jesus died on the cross for you and me. Not at all fair that he became sin for us. It's not at all fair that by his stripes we're healed. That is not at all fair. But boy, am I ever glad God's not fair. When you think about it. I'm glad he's just. And there's a difference between being just and fair. What he did was just. It might not be considered fair, but it is just. And
that was my thought, is because he's a just God, even those pre-Christ were saved by the knowledge of a Savior to come.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in Hebrews 10:16, where he talks about, I'll put the law into their minds and their hearts. And in a sense, they know the difference between right and wrong. They know what's good and evil. And if they know these things by their conscience, they can also believe in God. And really just boiling down to the fact that God is just. And if God is just, if someone hasn't, whatever that argument may be by somebody, if God is just, he's not going to allow them to burn in hell. Jesus said no one gets to the Father but through me. It's not to say that they still won't go through Jesus to get to the Father, but
but that has to be taken care of before they die.
Right.
And see, that's why Jesus said, go into all the world and preach the gospel. And this is what I would say with that. God is just, so he has given us a sense of right and wrong.
Right.
Because as a result of that, the people whose ancestors rejected God and they don't know the truth, they still understand right and wrong, and they're ready to receive the truth. And see, this is what makes it different, because every once in a while I say, but what about, unborn children and infants? The Bible indicates that that they'll be in heaven. So why are they able to go and these other people aren't? And the reason is an unborn child or an infant does not have the ability to understand the gospel. Right. But these people we're talking about have the ability because of just what you said. God has put it in them so that they understand right from wrong. That's what the beauty of that book, Eternity in Their Hearts. It illustrates how these cultures that had no knowledge of God were primed to receive the gospel message. And it's there waiting, and they're there waiting. And that's where the urge of going into all the world and preaching the gospel comes from, because they're waiting to hear. And again, that's the beauty of having the internet today, because there's very few parts of the world that you're not going to find an exposure, not find exposure to the gospel message today.